Hello, friends, and welcome back to the While We're Waiting Hope After Child Loss podcast. I'm Jill Sullivan, your host and one of the co-founders of the While We're Waiting ministry. This is a podcast of stories of devastating loss and grief and heartbreak and struggle, and stories of hope and healing and faith and, yes, even joy. Underlying every conversation is the hope we have in Jesus Christ, which makes it possible to not just survive the loss of a child, but to live well while we're waiting to see them again in heaven one day. You can learn more about our ministry and the free bereaved parent retreats we host by visiting our website at www.whilewe'rewaiting.org. Welcome to episode number 207, which is a continuation of my conversation with Joni Robbins, whose son Ethan died due to an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound in 2021. We pick up right where we left off last week as we extend our conversation to cover a wide variety of very practical issues related to the loss of a child. So you said Ethan had a life verse, and that was Romans 15:13. Talk about how much that verse has come to mean to you.
That's the verse we built everything around for the scholarship fund. Everybody does T-shirts. Like if you want to fundraise and you don't know what to do, you're going to do T-shirts.
That's right.
So we did T-shirts. My sister-in-law is a graphic designer, and she did, it was like a guitar mixed with a cowboy hat, and the verse was in there, and it just says, choose joy. Because I don't know why people dropped it down to that, but it's, may the God of hope fill you with joy, all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. And that just, in the early days when I wanted to just choose the closet, like go hide in the closet and never come out, I would think, no, you got to choose joy. It's a choice. Joy and happiness are not the same. Happiness is your circumstances. Joy only comes with our relationship through Christ. And I would just think, you know what? I need to be set apart. I need to be different. I need to show people that if I can get through this because of my relationship with Christ, that whatever they're going through, it might not be easy. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, but it's just better with Jesus. You know, alone, I could not imagine how I could do this. But every day when I wake up, I make a conscious decision to choose joy, because I could just stay in bed. No doubt that the enemy could have just absolutely destroyed me through this, and nothing against anybody who has to take anything to get through. But I made a decision that, because first thing happens, people want to put you on antidepressants, right? And I thought, I'm going to feel all the feels. I'm going to feel all the things. And I'm not going to say never. I guess if it was so bad, maybe I would have to. But anytime I felt like I just couldn't go on, I just pray. And I remember that verse. And I have other verses that get me through. But I just thought, God, I can do everything with you. And if I don't feel all the things, maybe I can't do all the things you have me to do. Because whatever I've felt and whatever I've gone through, then I pray and I ask God, let whatever I've gone through just be something that's going to be a launching pad for me to help somebody else. I tell people I accidentally got a degree in Christian counseling over the last 3 years. I didn't mean to, but I wanted to know so much about heaven. And you know what I found? There's not a whole lot about heaven in the Bible. But I just wanted to get closer to God, and nothing against local Bible studies that people do, but sometimes they just weren't deep enough for me, and I felt like I wanted deeper. So I went to a local Bible college, never intending to get a degree. And into last year, they're like, you just need one more semester. I had to take a semester off when my mother-in-law passed away, when she was sick with cancer. You just need one more semester and you can graduate. And I'm like, what? I can graduate? I don't need to graduate. I don't need that. But I did it. And I don't know if I'll ever use it. I may not. But I feel like there was a reason I did that. I'm just out there searching for a closer relationship with God and just get to know him even deeper. And I did. The first thing we ever did was we studied Genesis. And I thought, I don't know how this is going to help me. I sat there and cried through almost every class at first. But as I saw the story of creation unfold on such a deep level in a college course, I was like, God, you're so amazing. And I would think, if that's how he created this earth, how much more amazing is heaven?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And how good is he? He keeps his promises. All those different covenants And he's a promise keeper, you know? And I know for sure that my little Ethan, or my big Ethan, is waiting for me. And I just try so hard not to wish away the days here that he's given me, because he's not done with me. And I'm going to live out the days I'm supposed to live out. And I truly want to be as much of an advocate for heaven, for Jesus, for this life is just tiny. You know, yesterday at church, we talked about eternity, and the pastor showed a ruler or like a yardstick. And he said, most of us would think, you know, eternity's here and, you know, we're here. And he's like, we just can't even fathom it. No matter how long you think, you know, you think 10 million years, it's still back at the start.
That's right.
It's still at the beginning. Like, we just can't fathom eternity. And of course it was, talking about how, you know, we have choices to make. And I just want to crowd heaven. If telling my story and being super uncomfortable, talking about what happened, causes one more person to choose Jesus and to follow him and to make that declaration, because one person, then they go and change their whole family, you know, because now they're a believer, just like with my neighbor down the street. Because of him, you know, because of his declaration to follow Jesus, now his whole family follows Jesus. And who knows how many hundreds, thousands of people's, you know, that's changed eternally, not just this little blurb of time that we're here, but forever.
That's right. That's beautiful. So after Ethan went to heaven, you talk in the book about how you and Chad really began to seek for a purpose. And what was that purpose that God gave you?
Yeah, so a lady texted me, and I wish I could figure out who it was. I don't think I knew her, but I think it was a friend of a friend said, I've got to reach out to her. And she said, you have to find purpose for your pain, or your pain will take you over. And she said, I'm like, well, what do I do? And she said, well, we did a scholarship fund, and we had a golf tournament and a silent auction every year. And I was like, okay. So we just quickly, money started coming in. And I think, well, my direct sales business, there's people all over the world. And you never know. Do people think, did we need money to bear? You know, you don't know what people are thinking. But these large amounts of money started to come in. And I thought, well, we don't need this money. We've got to do something with this money. What can we do with this money? And church quickly set up a link for people to donate. Well, I guess they did that because people were asking, where do they send the money, I guess. And we raised, oh gosh, I think we probably raised $60,000 or $65,000 within a few months. I don't know. It was very quickly, maybe weeks, maybe days. I don't remember. And I thought, I want to help kids. I want to help kids because we were small business owners, and sometimes paying those tuition bills for two boys was tough. And I thought, I want to help other people. And we came up with the Ethan Robbins Fund. We weren't real sure what we were going to do, but we knew we wanted to help high schoolers. You know, a lot of people really had some hard conversations about us. They wanted us to do college. And I said, you know, Ethan didn't make it to college. College is not where I feel like I'm led. I want to do high school. So pretty much what we do now is we've only done 9th through 12th grade. Not to say we'll never give a donation for someone younger, but we've been able to put, 15 or so kids through private Christian school. And what we love most is when it's a kid that actually wants to go to private Christian school, because we've got a kid now who's, I think he's going to 12th grade next year. He's going I think he's a 10th grader. So he's what was a sophomore. He used to carry his Bible to school. He was homeschooled for a while, and then he wanted to go to public high school because he plays baseball. He would carry his Bible to school. And at public high school, he was berated so much about carrying his Bible and basically preaching to people. He stopped carrying his Bible and he stopped talking about Jesus. So when some of the parents of his friends found out, they're like, we need to figure out a way to get him to school, Christian school. And we did. And he wants to be a missionary, or he's really like, I really just want to be like almost like a street evangelist, because he's so bold. He's the guy who will, if you know about like Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort, he's kind of that style of just boldly talking to anybody that passes by him. And we just love it that it's great for parents to want their kids to go to Christian school. But how awesome is it when a kid says, I want to deepen my life with Christ. I want to get him to know him better. And I want everything I do, whether it's math or baseball or history or science, I want to know it from a biblical standpoint and not just a worldview. And that's what really gets us excited. And we've, I mentioned the puppies a little bit. Our Australian Shepherds, Levi and Elsie, during 2020, Ethan was bored like all of us were. And he's like, let's get out Levi a girlfriend. And so I search out and find Levi a girlfriend. They're married now, by the way. And we find him a mate. And we were going to let them have puppies the next time Elsie went into heat. Because you wouldn't let them get a certain age. And I've always been more like of an adopt, don't shop kind of thing. I've never been a breeder. But this is just what he wanted to do. And we're like, okay, whatever. And he was the kind of kid, like if he said he was going to take care of him, he'd take care of him. About a week after he died, Elsie went into heat and we just said, nah, we're going to separate them. We can't do this. And then the next time, God can just do whatever. They were born on his 18th birthday and his first birthday in heaven. I know. And they were all girls. So we've literally got all the birthday girls. One birthday girl has had puppies and we kept one. Her name is Pecan and she's crazy and fun and I love her. And we've raised quite a bit of money for the scholarship fund with these puppies because we don't want the money from it, but we do want it to help people. And y'all, like, I'm not saying you have to get a dog, but if you don't have a dog and you're grieving, think about it. There's so much comfort. And we've just taken on the philosophy of have 3 dogs, Not highly recommended, but we just love them. And it's like something to think about every day, somebody to take care of. And it's just really hard to be so sad when you have a smiling little dog looking at you that just loves you with everything they have. Doesn't take it away, but it does soften the blow a little bit. So, yeah, we've turned that into a fundraiser. We're planning our 3rd golf tournament now. And we kind of had a makeshift banquet last year, which we're doing a really good banquet this year, and let the kids speak. It's still a little hard for me to talk, but I'm pretty confident by this October, I think it's November when we're having it, I'll be even better. And we can just tell people about what we're doing. At first, we wanted to be kind of anonymous with our giving. And that works at first when you get all the money in the beginning. But if you really want people to donate again, you have to let them know what you're doing with your money. So we've been gracious enough to have these great kids with great parents that will get up and talk and tell people what the Ethan Robbins Scholarship has done for them. And so to me, that's just so much more impactful. And everything has its place. And if your child died from a firearm accident like mine, and you feel like you've just got to go change the world by teaching gun safety or something, then that's great because that's what God's put on your heart to do. But what he's put on our heart to do is to further his kingdom with these kids that are going to go and learn more about Jesus and dig in and just no doubt the kids that have gone to school that we've sent, that we've helped, they're going to be the people that are going to be the next missionaries and the Sunday school teachers and the preachers and maybe they're an amazing pastor's wife. That's a big job in itself,
Absolutely, yeah.
And wherever they go, they're just going to spread the gospel because they've been poured into so much. And that's just our mission, is just to help as many kids as we possibly can get to school. And we've had a blast doing it. And there is a little letdown when the fundraiser season's over. You're kind of like, what do I do next?
Sure.
So, we're spreading it out this year to try to kind of keep something going all along so that we always have something to think about and something to do.
Yeah. Well, how can people find out more about the Ethan Robbins Fund? You have a website?
Yes, ethanrobbinsfund.org.
Okay.
And it's just spelt, EthanRobbinsFund.org.
Okay. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so people can find that easily if they want to get involved or donate because what a worthy cause that is.
And the book's there because we've decided to give all the profits from the book to the Ethan Robbins Fund because I don't know. Chad's like, we got to do something now to make money in the future. And everything we're doing is fundraising, but it makes me feel so good to be able to send kids to school. And we're starting to get more and more requests for Christian school now. And we just don't want to, once we start somebody, we try to keep them. So we don't want to tell somebody in ninth grade, we can pay for you to go. So we kind of earmark the money so that we know we've got them all the way through the whole time. So every chance I get to put money for that, it makes me so much more happy than, I don't know.
Absolutely. And is that just for kids in your area, or is it for anywhere?
Technically, I'm not sure if we can, I don't know that it matters. It's Christian school. It does have to be Christian school. It can't just be a private, like secular school. I don't remember if we can go outside of North Carolina or not. I do know it does not have to be our one local school. It's either North Carolina or anywhere in the United States that's Christian school. I just have to make one phone call to find that. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be just the school my boys attended to. That's really all we've done for now. But, I can envision us being bigger and helping kids all over. So that would be awesome.
Okay. I was just curious about that. I believe that all of us that have lost a child have this very sharp dividing line, almost like an earthquake fault line in our lives between the before and the after. So talk about the before Joni and the after Joni.
Oh gosh, the before me, I was the one people would say, if anything, if I would start something new, everything you touch works out. I was a multitasker. My memory was amazing. I could talk to people without fumbling over words. I'm really having memory troubles now. I can't concentrate as well. I struggle with that. I know I'll get better. I know I will. But I'm not as confident as I was. I'm getting better with the confidence. As far as business, my direct sales business, I've really not worked a whole lot in the last 3 years. And every time I think I'm ready to jump back in, and I was a crazy good recruiter, and I just haven't got that fire in my belly yet. If you could tell when I'm talking about fundraising, that's where the fire is right now, and it makes me so happy. And our nonprofit is one without salary, so we don't, we just donate it all. So I'm not the worker that I used to be, and we've even talked about Chad is more normal Chad, I guess. Then he's not a whole lot different to me. I mean, if we ask him this question, he might say he is, but to me, he's still kind of the same as he always was, and I'm very different. I don't know if you've ever done there's all these different personality types, and a lot of times what we use is the colors, red, blue, green, and yellow. A blue person is very outgoing, and a red person is very competitive. A green is analytical, and a yellow is the yellow is the one who just wants to sit around and change the world. They'd rather give and fundraise and things like that. And I used to be a blue, red, yellow, very little green. So I was very social, somewhat competitive, quite a bit, and then still very giving and not so analytical. Only analytical when I had to be, because you got to be some of all of them. And now I'm so yellow. I'm so much more yellow. And then I'm probably more analytical than I've ever been in my life. And I'm trying to find the me that fits into the workplace again. And I'm going to actually take some time off of some things that I was doing for the summer. I've got several different book launches to do. I'm just kind of going all over, if it's a grief share, if it's a church, whatever I need to do and go that I can help other people. That's just what I feel like I'm called to do. And I know for sure that I'm supposed to do that, at least for the summer. And it's not about selling books. It's about helping other people to not feel alone. If they feel shame and if they feel judgment over the loss of their child or their loved one, it may not even be a child, I don't want them to feel like they're alone. And I definitely want them to know that with Jesus it's better. Mm. So that's just, so I'm going to be very different, and I'm okay with that. And Chad's also okay with, he may need to step up and do things differently than he's done in the past, I'd say 17 years. That's how long I was in direct sales. Before that, he was always the breadwinner. And then for a little while there, I became the breadwinner. But it always worked out, because the reason he retired in 2012, we knew that someone needed, one of us needed to be with our boys. We were who needed to raise our kids. And I actually had both of my hips replaced. And as soon as we knew they were good and we wouldn't need his wonderful insurance that we had, he retired. And he's done several things since then, but never like had a full-time 40-hour-a-week job, because he always had to just take care of all the kid stuff, but also with all the business things we have, he's always the one kind of pulling everything together. Sometimes I'm a little bit like a tornado and I can start a bunch of stuff and he has to come along and kind of close everything up and seal it tight. But I am so different, and I'm trying to embrace the difference, because for a while there I just kept fighting it, trying to be back to the old me. And I don't know that I'll ever be the old me. But if this is the direction God has us going, and we really thought we were supposed to sell our house. We have way too much house than we need. I love it. You know, a lot of my comforts come in my gardening. I have 23 hydrangeas, and I have over 30, almost 30 hybrid tea roses. And then I've got other kinds. Like, I have so many things, and I love them. I love taking care of them. They bring me so much joy. I always have, and this time of year, I always have cut flowers. And I thought God was telling me to sell our home. And then Chad's dad got sick and he's had to move in with us. And right when we think we're getting him back, I mean, we already had photos done, everything ready to list the house. And his dad gets sick and has to move in with us. And I'm just like, okay, God, I guess you're trying to tell me you want me to stay put for right now. And there is a lot of room here. Like when we have all this stuff, like all the books came in, we took them right upstairs to our big bonus room. And that's just kind of our like fundraiser headquarters up there. And we've got interns working the summer, and they're able to go up there, kind of come and go as they please and not be in our space. And they have their own space to do the things they do. Right now, they've got all of our golf tournament stuff organized, which has been wonderful. And, you know, I'm trying not to get ahead of God, and I'm trying to wait and listen for his cues. And if he wants me to move, he'll tell me to move.
Yeah, that's right. So what have you learned about the character of God in this process?
Oh, goodness. Tenderness. I grew up kind of with a really healthy fear of God. And I remember one day that I was singing a song at church, and it's one they seem to always make me, if you sing, you know, like, especially when you don't have time to practice during the week, they just give you the same old songs over and over because they know, like, she knows it. She'll sing this one.
Sure.
And when it came to the part about I'm chosen, not forsaken, and I just thought, you know, God, I really feel forsaken. Like, you always had me. There's so many things that I've gone through in my life, way too much to even put in one book. And those are the kind of things I thought I'd write a book about one day, not losing a child. And I'm like, you did let me down. You did, and you forsook me. And I had to really study that. And I feel like the Holy Spirit just spoke to me. And I feel like God said to me, I watched my son die too. I know how you feel. And I thought, you know what? God watched his son die slowly, be tortured, be mocked for days. Or I don't know, maybe 2, whatever. You know what I mean? Like from the Friday to the time he took his last breath.
Yeah.
And my son, we believe, died instantly. One, he definitely knows what it feels like. And two, he keeps showing up with all the little things, like the puppies being born on Ethan's birthday, the books arriving just in time so that day I can't be sad. You know, I mean, I was sad, don't get me wrong, but that I can't just sit around and cry and eat ice cream all day because I've got a chore to do. He's brought so many people in our lives that have just blessed us. And he's given me something to do that I feel like makes such a big impact. Because I used to think, oh, I could give money and money could go for missions and whatever. And I'll never be a missionary. I'll never, you know, never have a story to tell that'll change lives. And, you know, you kind of always feel jealous of things you don't have, you know. And I would see missionaries and think, oh, I want to be a missionary. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, we can help finance these people to go because they have to have finances. And now, for the first time in my life, I feel like I have a place in kingdom building because of this story that we've been given. You know, we never wanted the story. Yeah. It would never have been anything we've ever picked.
No.
But I get to serve God the rest of my life. And I get to tell people about how good my God is, even though one of the worst things that could ever have happened to me. He just keeps showing up, and he keeps loving me, and he keeps telling me that I'm good enough, and I am chosen, and I'm not forsaken. Because when you really look up what forsaken means, it means to be abandoned, and it means to be totally just left behind. God never left my side. There was never a time when I couldn't cry out to him and he wouldn't somehow answer me. Whether it's a friend showing up with what I needed, a little still small voice from the Holy Spirit, he always shows up. He's always on time. Not my timing, but his. And I just think that's such a blessing. And it's caused me to want to study God's word deeper. I do feel like I was probably at the closest point I ever was, but when Ethan died, I felt like my Bible study was probably more on point than ever in my life before, which was so ironic. Like, I felt like I was doing all the right things, you know? And for that to have happened, it's like, it wasn't like I wasn't in the Word. It wasn't like I wasn't trying to share. But it's just showing me that no matter what life throws at me, I'm not alone. And if anybody's listening today and you feel like you're alone and you feel like you've been forsaken, you feel like you've been abandoned, that's not the God we serve. You're not forsaken. You're not abandoned. And if you will just ask him to reveal himself to you and to give you that peace and to show up in your life, he will. And I love to journal. Get your journal out and start writing the things down, because it might take you a while, but over the weeks and days and months to come, you'll see how God showed up. Little ways and big ways, he will reveal himself to you.
That's right. Amen. Thank you for that. That's a good word of encouragement right there. Finally, there's one question I always like to ask in closing, and that is, has music been helpful on your grief journey? I'm assuming that it has, since you are on the worship team. And if so, what is on your playlist?
Yeah, so that's very strange to me that music was always a huge part of my life. And yes, I did keep singing. One thing I didn't stop doing was I didn't stop singing at church. I did not sing the week. Ethan's funeral was on Sunday, so I didn't sing that day. And then the next week, every fifth Sunday, we get together and go to what we call our big campus. And so I wasn't on the praise team that week, but the very next week I started singing again. And pretty much my playlist had to consist of whatever I had to learn, because it was hard to venture out more than that. One, just hours in a day, you know, as many things as I do. If I have to practice something, then that's pretty much what I'm practicing for several days leading up. I do normally, you know, people ask me about secular music and I'm like, no, I don't really know who that is. Partly I don't have time to listen to things. And for the longest time, if I would be in a store or a restaurant and a song would come on by a certain artist, that one that I knew, like Ethan liked to play Chris Stapleton. And I'll never forget, one of the first times I ventured out, I was with my niece and we're sitting at some hamburger place, and I know a lot of people in our town, so we'd gone another town over to try to avoid seeing people, which didn't work. And I hear a Chris Stapleton song that I had heard over and over, because, you know, when they're practicing a song, they play the same little part over and over and over again. And I just busted out in terrible tears. So for the longest time, I just couldn't listen to music. But right now, I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie Unsung Hero. And so one of my favorite songs is well, really anything from that soundtrack, but a couple of the songs from that. And It As Well was a song that got me through many, many times, because what else do you say? You know, there's not a whole lot you can say. And just my cry to God was just, it's well. I never got mad at God, and people, sometimes they told me, oh, you will one day. But my reasoning for never getting mad at God, if God hadn't sent his son, his only son, to save us, maybe I could be mad at God.
Right.
But because he sent his only son, we get to spend eternity together.
That's right.
And I just can't be mad at him. Now, if you're here and you're mad at God, it's okay. It's totally okay to be mad at God. But for me, because God had showed up in my life so many times as a child, growing up without my parents, my grandparents had to raise me. My grandfather died 2 days after I was 9. Just so many different things. God rescued me so many times. I just couldn't be angry at him. So again, if you are, it's okay. And I pray that you will quickly find that he loves you and he's for you, not against you. But my playlist pretty much consists of whatever songs we're singing at church. And if I'm sad, I go straight to it as well. I like hymns. There was a time there that I actually would listen to hymns without words. My church sings more contemporary Christian music, but I grew up in a Baptist church where we sang hymns. And ironically, when I went down the aisle to be baptized and my grandmother went down to rededicate her life, the song that was played was the same exact song. And see, here's where my memory goes. I had that song in my head a few seconds ago, and now I can't think of it. It's not it as well. But when Chad decides to rededicate his life, and Anson decides to get baptized when Anson was 7 in 2007, and the same song is on.
Wow.
And so there's hymns, and again, I can't remember the name of that hymn right now to save my life, but I would listen to just hymns, piano, like on Spotify, just type in hymns without words. And that was something that helped me for a long time. And I'll have to say, Jill, like really podcasts became my music, and that might sound weird, but I hung on to every word of hearing another, a survivor. We're survivors. We've survived child loss, which is something we all think we can't survive, but with Jesus we can. So podcasts would keep me going at night. And I still do. I turn on podcast very low so that I have to concentrate to try to hear it. And that's how I fall asleep. If I wake up in the middle of the night and it's not playing, I'll turn it on again. And I don't know that I fully listen to them at night, but during the day, like even this morning, I was getting ready and I thought I've got to turn a podcast on because I just try not to let my mind wander too much. So I try to fill it with good stuff. I fill it with stories of people who've gone before me and have made it for years and years, and they're doing good in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
With stories of sermons. I listened to a sermon this morning that I really enjoyed. I just keep something going. So where I used to listen to more music, now I probably listen to more podcasts and sermons. And just basically whatever we're singing at church is pretty much what's on my phone. And when I get the Spotify playlist mashup of the year, it's not really exciting.
Right. All songs.
But yes, Unsung Hero. We got to go see that.
Yes, I want to see that too. I love For King and Country. I love all of their music. And Rebecca St. James.
And I didn't even know that until I saw, I don't know if you ever watched Joni Lamb, her podcast, but he was on that. And I was like, I did not know that was his sister. And, you know how when you create a post or whatever on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, I love to use their song, Joy, and that's because everything we do kind of surrounds joy, but I just love it. And so For King Country, definitely one of my favorites. And I don't know. I used to love Rebecca St. James. I used to listen to her a lot.
Yeah. That kind of goes way back.
It does. Yeah. Chris. Yeah.
As far as I know, she's not putting out new music, but
I don't think so. Yeah. But yeah, so I love music, but I probably have not listened to it in the last 3 years as much as I used to because it seems to sometimes make me cry, especially when you don't know what's coming next. And when that song comes next, you're just like, ah. And because Ethan played music so much, that made it even harder. But yeah.
Music was hard for me too at first, and it's gotten better. But nowadays, I'm like you. I actually listen to podcasts more than I do music. And I enjoy that. I love all the access we have to good preaching and stories of people that God is using. And it's really helpful to me too. So, and I also enjoy just listening to other podcasts to get ideas for my podcast. So I enjoy that as well. So we're just about to wrap up. Is there anything else you would like to share before we go?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I think don't be scared. And I guess this goes without saying, but don't be scared to talk about your child. Talk about the good things, because I think sometimes that if they're talking about a story from when their kid was 2, I'm talking about Ethan when he was 2, and I'm talking about Anson when he was 2, and maybe that I will mention really, because people are a little bit nervous when we start to talk about our child, but people know me now and quickly about the child. So we are blessed to have another child who's married to beautiful Caitlin, and we love them so much. And we have 2 grand dogs that we're really excited about. We'll enjoy them as long as we have only dogs to enjoy. And just don't forget your other kids. Let your eyes light up when they walk in the room, no matter how sad you're missing their sibling. And don't forget that they miss their sibling too. And let them know that they're enough. God still has them here, so they're enough to fill in that gap of everything you need, of all you need, and that mother-child, mother-son-daughter relationship, they're enough. They're very loved, and so many kids have come to me and said, don't forget Anson, and Anson got married about a little over a year after Ethan died, and it was so hard to include Ethan in the wedding, but to know, hey, this is Anson and Caitlin's day. We will have a memory of him over here, but we're not going to have the focus on him. The focus is on Anson and Caitlin. So and I hope I do it well. Anson, if you're listening, I hope I do well by you with that. And I tell him sometimes I'm struggling. I'm struggling over the loss of your brother still, but I'm so thankful for you. And I'm so glad God gave me you and that you're still here with me. And I never want you to feel like I'm too sad to be everything you need me to be.
That's right. Yeah. I think it's really important that we talk with our kids, our surviving children, honestly like that.
Yeah.
That goes a long way.
Right.
They appreciate it. And it's good for both of us, good for the family. And sometimes that's hard, but it's important. It's very important to do. And like you said, don't forget them. Don't let them become part of the background and that child that we lost be in the foreground. It should not be that way.
Right.
Even though it's tempting to us as bereaved parents to do that, that's not the way it should be. So thank you for that good reminder here at the end of our conversation. Yeah. So how can people get a copy of your book?
They can go to ethanrobbinsfund.org and click shop, and they will see the book.
Yeah. And you said all the proceeds from the book go to the Ethan Robbins Fund, right?
Yep. All the profits from the book go to the fund. Yes. And we're not quite to profit, but we're almost there. So
okay.
we got to sell a few more to get to profit.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. So,
okay. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, I have enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for giving up your time this afternoon. And I just pray that our conversation will be a blessing to those who hear it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the While We're Waiting Hope After Child Loss podcast. If this podcast has been a blessing to you, please take just a moment to leave a rating or a review, and please feel free to share it with someone you know who might be helped by it. We're so grateful for all of you who come back and listen every week, and those of you who may be listening for the very first time. I hope God has used it to encourage you today and to help you live well while you're waiting.